November 1917. The Bolsheviks moved on the night of November 6th to the 7th. Bridges, stations, communication facilities. Strategic points fell, one after another. Lenin commanded from the Smolny Institute. That single night changed the world. The Winter Palace in Petrograd, the symbol of the Russian Empire, now surrounded. The garrison, a mere 2,000 men. Against them, tens of thousands of Red Guards encircled the palace. The cruiser Aurora fired, often remembered as the signal of revolution. But the actual storming of the Winter Palace was a series of chaotic skirmishes. The ministers of the provisional government looked out the windows. There was no escape. From the night of November 7th into the early hours of the 8th, the Winter Palace fell. The ministers of the provisional government were arrested. Lenin took the podium. At the Soviet Congress, convening at the same time, the Bolsheviks declared the transfer of power. All power to the Soviets. Hundreds of party members erupted in cheers. Yet in Lenin's heart, doubt lingered. How do we sustain this revolution? The revolution had succeeded. But governing was a different battle. Lenin issued decree after decree. The decree on land restructured land ownership. Later, bank nationalization expanded state control. The socialist experiment had begun. But the reports on his desk told the truth. Economic chaos, food shortages, omens of civil war. Lenin's hand trembled slightly. The revolution gave birth to civil war. The Red Army and the White Army. Workers and the old nobility. The future colliding with the past. 1918 to 1922. The Civil War, accompanied by famine and disease, claimed millions of lives. Famine, disease, violence. Russia drowned in blood. December 30th, 1922. The Soviet Union was born. Lenin, as head of government, led the operation of the new state. Yet as he gazed out the window, there was no joy in his eyes. The Civil War had ended, but the cost was too great. The economy lay in ruins. The famine of 1921-1922 killed an estimated 5 million people. Lenin's own health was failing. He knew he would not live to see whether this experiment would succeed. January 21st, 1924. Lenin died. A power vacuum emerged. Joseph Stalin. He was the man no one expected. The party intellectuals looked down on him. The Georgian peasant. But Stalin knew. Power is seized not through speeches, but through personnel decisions. By the late 1920s, Stalin had won the internal power struggle and his dominance solidified. 1928. Stalin took the gamble. Transformed the USSR into an advanced nation in 10 years. The first 5-year plan. Collectivization of agriculture. Rapid industrialization. The goals were magnificent. But the methods were brutal. Land seized from peasants, forced relocation to collective farms. Those who resisted were executed without mercy. This wasn't development. It was revolution. 1932. Famine struck Ukraine. But this was no natural disaster. It was man-made famine. Stalin's agricultural collectivization policy. Peasants lost their land and their will to produce. In Ukraine, the breadbasket, people starved to death. Estimates of deaths from the 1932-33 famine vary across studies, but are measured in the millions across Ukraine and surrounding grain-producing regions. Food existed, but it was allocated to cities and the military first. The countryside was abandoned. This tragedy is now recognized as genocide by the European Parliament and many nations. This truth remained hidden until the collapse of the USSR. 1934. Stalin's paranoia transformed into madness. The Great Purge, the darkest tragedy in Soviet history. Old Bolsheviks, military officers, intellectuals, artists. Everyone was accused of being a spy. Stalin's hand-signed execution lists without pause. In a single night, hundreds of lives vanished. The Red Army was no exception. 1937. Of 5 marshals, 3 were executed. Of 15 army commanders, 13 were purged. Arrests, dismissals, and expulsions swept through the Red Army, replacing the entire senior command structure. Stalin destroyed his own military. Arrested officers trembled in their cells. Why me? There was no answer. Reasons were unnecessary. August 23, 1939. Stalin shocked the world. A non-aggression pact with Hitler. Communism and fascism. Ideological enemies joining hands. The world couldn't comprehend it. Why? But Stalin's calculation was ruthless. Buy time. While Germany and the West fight, the USSR will prepare. The secret protocol outlined the division of spheres of influence in Eastern Europe. Poland, the Baltic states, Finland, Bessarabia. Spheres of influence were negotiated. Stalin acquired territory. But this gamble would be betrayed in 2 years. June 22, 1941. 4 a.m. German forces crossed the border. Stalin couldn't believe it. Hitler wouldn't betray us. But reality was merciless. 3 million German troops. 3,000 tanks. 2,000 aircraft. Operation Barbarossa. The largest invasion in human history had begun. Stalin's face turned pale. The German army would not stop. June, Belarus fell. July, Ukraine invaded. October, Moscow besieged. In the first months of the German-Soviet War, the Soviet military suffered catastrophic losses, including millions of prisoners. With experienced officers lost, command and training structures were severely weakened. Stalin's purges had crippled the USSR. December, German forces reached the outskirts of Moscow. But here, fate turned. December 5th. General Georgy Zhukov launched a counteroffensive. Minus 30 degrees Celsius in deep winter. German supply lines froze, tanks ground to a halt. The Soviet army made winter its ally. 1 million troops. Elite units summoned from Siberia. For the first time, the German army retreated. Moscow was saved. August 1942. Stalingrad. Hitler and Stalin. The pride of two dictators collided in this city. 6 months of urban warfare. Soldiers fought on amid the rubble. Some estimates suggest military and civilian casualties across the wider battle zone reached several million, though figures vary. February 2, 1943. The German Sixth Army surrendered. The tide of war had turned. 1944. The Soviet army went on the offensive. Poland, Romania, Hungary. One after another, liberated. But liberation was the beginning of new domination. Regions the Soviet army passed through were staffed with secret police. Anyone anti-Soviet was arrested without mercy. Not freedom, but another dictatorship arrived. April 30th, 1945. The fall of Berlin. Soviet soldiers raised the red flag over the Reichstag. Hitler committed suicide in his bunker. Nazi Germany collapsed. The Soviet Union had won. But the cost was immeasurable. Combined military and civilian war losses are estimated at approximately 26 to 27 million. May 9th, 1945. Victory in the Great Patriotic War. Stalin became a hero. The USSR became a superpower. Nuclear weapons development. Eastern European domination. Half the world under communist influence. But the price of this victory, the USSR would pay forever. After victory, a new battle began. The Cold War. America and the Soviet Union. Capitalism and communism. Two ideologies divided the world. The nuclear arms race. In August 1949, the USSR successfully tested its first nuclear weapon, RDS-1. On April 12, 1961, Gagarin achieved humanity's first manned spaceflight aboard Vostok 1. The Earth was blue. In space, too, the Soviets triumphed. But on the ground, a different problem was developing. The Soviet economy was stagnating. Planned economy. Everything managed by the state. In theory, perfect. But reality was different. Factories aged. Technological innovation stagnated. Workers lost motivation. Productivity declined. In the West, the computer revolution was beginning. But the USSR fell behind. Though estimates vary by methodology, by the 1980s, Soviet economic growth had slowed, and the economic gap with the U.S. widened significantly. March 1985. A new leader emerged. Mikhail Gorbachev, 54 years old. He tried to save the Soviet Union. Perestroika, restructuring. Glasnost, openness. Revitalize the economy, open society. Gorbachev believed communism can be reformed. But he didn't know this reform would bring down the USSR. November 9, 1989. The Berlin Wall fell. Communist regimes in Eastern Europe collapsed one after another. Poland, Hungary, Czechoslovakia. Citizens demanding freedom overthrew dictatorships. Gorbachev did not intervene militarily. We can no longer suppress them with force. But this decision accelerated the end of the USSR. August 19, 1991. Hardliners staged a coup. Gorbachev was placed under house arrest. But the people rose up. Boris Yeltsin. He stood on a tank and shouted, "Do not allow this coup." Tens of thousands of citizens surrounded the parliament building. 3 days later, the coup failed. But Gorbachev's authority was gone. December 25, 1991. 7 p.m. Gorbachev sat before the television cameras. "I hereby resign from the office of President of the USSR." That night, the Soviet flag was lowered from above the Kremlin. In its place, the Russian tricolor was raised. The Soviet Union, which had lasted 69 years, ceased to exist. The world's greatest socialist experiment had ended. December 26, 1991. The Supreme Soviet declared the dissolution of the USSR, ending the state framework. 15 republics became independent nations. Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan. Once one country, they began to walk separate paths. Ideology was defeated by reality. Planned economy could not defeat market economy. Dictatorship could not suppress freedom forever. The grand experiment had failed. What does the collapse of the USSR teach us? Ideology alone cannot sustain a nation. Force alone cannot grow an economy. Fear alone cannot capture people's hearts. But there's another lesson. Reform is unpredictable. Gorbachev tried to save the USSR, but his reforms brought down the USSR. Fear change and stagnate, and you die. Rush change too quickly, and you collapse. And in the 2020s, the former Soviet sphere is once again at the center of world history. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has profoundly shaken the security and energy assumptions formed in post-Cold War Europe, further clarifying the divergent paths of former Soviet states. History doesn't give us perfect answers. So let me ask you, between ideals and reality, humanity has always wavered. Many dream of a perfect society, but no one has achieved it. If you were the leader, would you choose ideology or reality? Were the USSR's 69 years wasted? Or were they a valuable lesson humanity needed to learn? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for joining me on this journey. The rise and fall of the Soviet Union was a historical experiment, revealing the clash between ideology and reality. This channel explores such turning points in history, seeking timeless lessons for those of us living today. If today's story broadened your perspective even slightly, I'd appreciate your subscription and like. Next time, let's continue decoding the blueprints of history together. Until next time.